Okay, let's dive into the story of one of the most powerful and, frankly, tragic figures in the Mahabharata, Draupadi. We're going to try and see this whole epic saga through her eyes.
This one line, it just cuts right to the heart of it, doesn't it? It perfectly captures the core tragedy of Draupadi's life. A life that, right from the very beginning, was anything but ordinary. It literally began in fire.
So, to really understand her, you have to start with how she came into the world. Her origin was this incredible, miraculous event that set her apart from everyone right from the first moment.
Yeah, Draupadi wasn't born from a womb in the usual way. She was basically a gift from the gods, a fully grown woman who emerged right out of a sacrificial flame, a yajna, and she was created for a very specific purpose, to be the instrument of destruction for her father's enemies.
So right from the get-go, you can see she's established as this divine figure, destined for a life that was going to be anything but normal. She was born fully formed, beautiful, with this otherworldly fragrance. And that incredible destiny of hers, it was about to be sealed in the most unusual way you can imagine.
Her marriage was every bit as unconventional as her birth. It was this perfect storm of mortal skill, a mother's command, and, well, divine intervention.
Okay, so picture this, her Swayamvara. It's this huge ceremony where she gets to choose her husband. But the test was practically impossible. You had to string this divine bow and then hit a tiny spinning target. The hero Arjuna, who was in disguise, was the only one who could pull it off. He won her as his bride. But a simple twist of fate, a single sentence, was about to change everything.
So when the Pandava brothers get home, they announce they've won a great prize, and their mother, Kunti, without even looking up, tells them to share it amongst themselves, just like they always did with everything else. You have to understand, a mother's word was law, and that one mistaken command led to the absolutely unprecedented decision that she would be the shared wife to all 5 Pandava brothers.
Now, you might be thinking, how could this possibly be okay? Well, this shocking arrangement wasn't actually seen as a mistake. The great sage Vyasa explained that it was all part of a divine plan. It was her destiny, something preordained across lifetimes, a destiny, however, that her enemies would soon twist into a weapon to use against her.
And this brings us to the single most traumatic, most pivotal event of her entire life, a moment of unbelievable public degradation that would end up being the spark that lit the fires of war.
It all starts with a dice game. The eldest Pandava, Yudhisthira, gets tricked into a rigged game. He loses his kingdom, his brothers, even his own freedom. And then, in one last, desperate bet, he stakes the only thing he has left, his wife, Draupadi, and he loses.
What happened next was just a total collapse of dharma, of everything that was supposed to be right and just. A queen was physically assaulted, dragged by her hair into a court full of the kingdom's most respected men. And nobody, not the wise elders, not even her 5 incredibly powerful husbands, did a thing to help her. They all just sat there, silent, bound by the so-called rules of the game.
And they took the very thing that made her unique, her marriage, once explained as divine destiny, and they twisted it into the cruelest insult imaginable. They used it to strip her of every last shred of dignity and honor, right there in front of everyone.
And then came the ultimate humiliation, in order to publicly violate her. This was the point of no return. But as they tried to pull away her sari, something miraculous happened. A divine intervention saved her modesty, as the cloth just kept endlessly, miraculously extending.
But right there, in that moment of absolute horror, something changed. Her despair, her pleas for help, they transformed into this burning, unshakable resolve for pure vengeance.
Okay, so fast forward. Years of suffering in exile followed this humiliation, and when a final attempt at making peace was on the table, Draupadi saw her moment. She unleashed all of that pent-up rage and grief in this incredibly powerful appeal to Krishna. You see, she hadn't braided her hair since that day. Holding her long, unkempt hair, which she called a great black serpent, she reminds Krishna that her humiliation isn't something that can be negotiated away. It was a physical, living reminder of her dishonor. She basically declares that her anger is an unquenchable fire, a fire that can only be extinguished by the blood of the men who tormented her. She vowed not to tie her hair again until it was washed in the blood of Dushasana. Her vow didn't just ask for war, it demanded it. And so,
The Great Kurukshetra War happened. Her enemies were completely annihilated, and her vow was fulfilled. But at what cost?
The war brought victory, sure, but it also brought unimaginable loss. The battlefield was just this horrifying scene of carnage, a landscape of broken bodies, rivers of blood, and feasting predators. And in a final brutal act of war, all 5 of her sons were murdered in their sleep.
So in the end, yeah, her quest for justice absolutely succeeded, but it was a textbook Pyrrhic victory. She got her vengeance, but it cost her everything she had, leaving her surrounded by sorrow, a queen who had won the war but lost her entire future.
And that, really, is the final haunting question that hangs over Draupadi's story. The texts give us her victory, they give us her avenged honor, her fulfilled vow, but they leave her peace, and by extension, our own understanding of justice and vengeance, very, very much in doubt.
Our epics, our stories. Please subscribe for more videos.